Good evening, Transfer Insiders. Adi Oladipo, Rory Jennings. We're going to switch our attention now to Brentford. In the headlines, a lot in the last couple of days. Their manager, Thomas Frank, linked with a move to Spurs. Bryan Mbuemo has come out and said, look, he wants to go to Manchester United. Queven Kelleher has come in from Liverpool. Flecken has left the club and joined Leverkusen. So loads going on with Brentford. Let's welcome in Billy the Bee Grant from the Beesotted Brentford podcast, member part of the Talksport Podcast Network. Billy, really appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much. Let's start with, again, the big news. This has obviously broken the last couple of hours. Bryan Mbuemo saying he wants to go to Manchester United. Again, 20 league goals last season. I think 9 the season before. He's been very consistent since he joined the club. How much of a blow is that?
It's funny you say. Listen, thanks for inviting me on, first of all. It's a bit of a blow to me, actually, because I've actually been on a training course. I set up this girls' team called Barnet Panthers, and we were training all evening, and I've literally legged it back in the car. I've come out here, and you're now telling me that Bryan Mbuemo wants to go to Man United. So I haven't actually prepared a speech for this one, so I don't quite know, and I haven't done my due diligence. But what I will say to you is that Bryan Mbuemo, as a Brentford fan, we know he's going to leave this summer. We know he's going to go somewhere this summer. He's a brilliant player. He's been brilliant for us. We've spent 7 years developing him out of the Championship into the Premier League, scored 20 goals this season. So he's going to go somewhere. He talks about Man United. Man United are there. Man United should have bought Ivan Toney, but they never did. So here's a Brentford player that might be there on the plate. But listen, you never know who else is going to come. It's a long transfer window, and I know he's got a high value. Some people put it at 50 million, but I know for a fact, and I'm going to tell you this for a fact, it is higher than that. So I think you're going to be talking about 70 or 80 million. We're talking for Bryan Mbuemo. So it's a case of who's going to be putting the money on the plate and where is he going to go in the end? Will he end up at Man United? I'm not too sure about that, to be quite honest with you.
How damaging will it be for Brentford to lose him?
Listen, if you lose a 20-goal a season striker, it's damaging, is what we said when Ivan Toney left, but then somebody else came back and scored more goals. So it always happens at Brentford. Every time we sell one of our players, the system that we've got, because we haven't got loads of money to go and buy it, but we can find players from little holes that they're living in underneath the ground or whatever like that, and they come back and they do really well. But also the thing is, what we do, it's a planning system, because what we don't do is, like with the so-called big clubs, they'll go in like Chelsea, as you know, Rory, they'll go in and they'll spend £100 million on a player who's meant to be oven ready, as it is, like, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes they're not quite oven ready. Before you know it, you're 400 million in the hole. We can't afford to do that. We'll buy a player for 10 million, 15 million. Sometimes we spend 2 years kind of getting them ready, like Damsgaard, and next minute, bang, they're wicked. You know, people like Sharda, it's taken them about 1.5 years to get to this stage. So already we've been developing the players that are going to be stepping up. Wisa he was a bit part player until all of a sudden Toney left, so he had to slip in. Next minute, 19 goals this season. So the thing I'm saying is, of course, it's going to be terrible losing Mbuemo, but he's done his time with us. 7 years he's been with Brentford, and we respect that as Brentford fans. He's going to go off elsewhere, and we tip our hat to him and he moves on.
I love
the
that.
Next person that comes in, we're going to go, tell you something, we have every faith in the system that has worked really well for the last 10 years. Yeah, there's been a few duds that haven't worked quite well, but 90% or 80% of the signings that have come in have worked for us. So we just have to trust it. And if one doesn't work for us, then we'll have a little bit of a kind of, bums in your seats sort of kind of season, which might be a bit of fun for us as well. So I'm not that fussed. I'm actually a little bit excited to see what the next challenge is going to be for the mighty Bees.
Yeah, it's very much like the Brighton model, isn't it? Very, very similar in terms of sort of finding, as you say, these players that no one's really heard of and turn them into gems. How concerning, though, when you're so close to Europe? Like, I look at the team now, finished 10th. It was always floating around that 10th, 9th and 8th, and you feel like just if you could keep that nucleus of players and maybe add one or two more, and it's a team that I think could finish in the top 7 to make a European push for next season. How disappointing that if you do lose a couple of your good players, that you don't replace them straight away with, as you mentioned, oven ready, and thus you miss out on a European run.
Yeah, I mean, tell you something, as fans, we love to go to Europe. It's going to be such a laugh. I mean, I travel with England everywhere, and I love travelling abroad with football. It's just the best thing. The reality is that at the beginning of the season, we weren't anywhere near Europe. We had 1 million injuries. We had pretty much a first team that was out injured. So we just thought, let's just get through this season and see how it goes. This season's been 10 times better than we ever thought it was going to be. So it's been good fun for us, looking we're going to get into Europe. The reality is, and this is me again, not putting my football fan head on, but, the Conference League, of course we want to win a cup, But from a financial and all that level, it's not the same levels as Champions League and the other leagues. So how does the club see going into Europe? Of course, they want to for the prestige, but also it puts a lot of burden on the club at a particular level when you're trying to build. And like 2 years ago, we almost got to Europe. And I said no, because I knew that if we got to Europe, we'd struggle, probably like Leicester and West Ham have done. You know what I'm saying? Because we didn't have the infrastructure. We didn't have enough strength in depth. And as it was, the following season, we had so many injuries, we struggled to get through the season. So if we were in Europe, we would have been dead. Now, I'd love to go to Europe for the jokes. It'd be brilliant going over to the Eastern Bloc and all sorts of places and going to watch Brentford play. But for us, there's a bigger picture in us building towards kind of being a bigger, sustainable model that we can actually hold on to players like Bryan Mbuemo. When we were in the Championship, I remember we had Ollie Watkins, right? And it was a stage where Ollie Watkins could have gone, but then Ollie Watkins decided to stay, and he stayed with us for an extra season because Brentford said, look, we're at the stage now, we've got a team that can go up to the Championship. So give us one more season, we'll go up. And if we don't go up, then you can go. That season, unfortunately, we lost to the F word at Wembley, can't mention the name. And so we didn't go up that season, and we let him go. So as far as we're concerned, there will be a stage where we'll be able to keep these players. Look, Ivan Toney left, and we've got a new player that has worked with us. And Boomer's going to have to go. It's brilliant. We'll just get somebody else in, and eventually we'll build there, and we'll get more money in, and we'll be able to do it. But we'll do it sustainably. We won't do it, and I'm not having to do the Chelsea way. You know what I'm saying? Because we can't do it that way. We've got to do it. We've got to do it the more organic way, and I like it that way because I'm an old schooler, fourth division boy.
I love it. I love it. Billy the B Grant from the Beesotted Brentford podcast. Appreciate you coming on. Thank you very, very much. I like it when he said we lost to the F word. We all know who he's talking about. But I like proper Brentford fan. Won't even mention him. Won't even mention him on the channel. Obviously, look, he mentioned Mbuemo there. Kelleher coming in is a big plus as well. It'll be interesting to see what they do with Thomas Frank and his ambitions. I mean, you spoke about this off air, didn't we? That it's likely Thomas Frank stays because he's kind of just got it comfortable at Brentford. And you go to these other countries, other clubs, it can get difficult when you're not used to the expectation and the surroundings.
The thing is, at some point, though, Thomas Frank has been so good. Yeah. He's going to outgrow, or it's not that he's going to necessarily outgrow Brentford, but he's going to become almost indispensable to other clubs. He's going to be on the radar of massive clubs.
Yeah.
And, if Ange Postecoglou were to leave Tottenham, you can certainly see a world 100%. Where it would be a legitimate appointment to go for Thomas Frank. He's made Brentford a completely legitimate Premier League team. He's made Brentford. There's no jeopardy around. But if I were to ask you your predictions for next season, literally nobody says Brentford to be relegated. And when you think about the size of the club and who they have been for their entire history, apart from this period, they've never been a top tier team.
No, you're right. All right, you listen to Transfer Insiders on Talksport with Ladbrokes, 18 plus. Be gamble aware. Don't forget, for all the latest transfer news and breaking stories, just head to our website, talksport.com. We'll see you in a bit.